Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Jobity, and I am the Brilliance Unveiler, a leadership elevation strategist for women and host and creator of Limitless Leaders Summit, designed for women ready to break barriers, manifest their boldest, brightest dreams, and own their power. I am so passionate about women elevating in their professional lives and personal lives, expanding how they see themselves and the world around them, and evolving so they shed what no longer serves them so they can truly shine in what I always say, their brilliance. Because the truth is, the possibilities are endless when we are in our highest, finest expression inside and out, and finally take the reins of our lives so we can become the unapologetic, limitless leaders we truly are. Our incredible speaker today on the summit is wonderful Rhonda Britten. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you. I wanted to go, whoo!
You can.
That was a beautiful description of what you do, man. I loved it. It was so passionate and so powerful, and I couldn't agree more. I just think limitless potential, and I love how you use the word power and the word brilliance. I mean, we do not equate women in power enough, right? Because
I
I mean,
agree.
right. But in the old days, it would be like power. Well, then she's a woman trying to be a man, right? It's like, no, 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 no. Our true power is accessing all of our femininity, all of our masculinity, all of us whole and integrated. And we can do anything that we foresee, anything that is moving for us to do, right? Because I do believe that we are touched by spirit, touched by God, touched by the divine. We're nudged. And everybody listening right now, I bet has been nudged, has been, moved, has been, just been
Yes.
pushed and heard the voice and heard it and or felt it, because some people don't hear, but some people feel it. And you wouldn't be here unless you heard something and you felt something. So you're here because it's by divine appointment. And you, my friend, who are listening right now to me and Natalie, or watching me and Natalie, it's like, okay, what does power mean? It's kind of scary, right? It's
Yes.
kind of scary. Well, that's where I come in. That's where
Rhonda,
I
I
come
love
in.
Rhonda doesn't even know this. My previous summit last year was called the Power Shift Summit. I am so in alignment with everything you're saying, but we have to introduce you first, Rhonda. Let's get
Okay. Go ahead. Introduce
so
me.
let's say a little bit more about Rhonda. Rhonda is an amazing woman, y'all. She's an Emmy Award winner, repeat Oprah guest, y'all, master coach, has changed lives in over 600 episodes of reality TV, including starring in the hit daytime reality TV show Starting Over. She's the author of 4 bestsellers, including her seminal work, Fearless Living, and she's the founder of the Fearless Living Institute, home of the Ivy League of coaching Ivy League of life coaching training. She's been named America's favorite life coach. You can see why.
It's true.
I know it's true. Um, he brings the neuroscience of fair down to earth, giving you a path out of not being good enough using the wheels technology she developed that saved her own life. Whoa. Okay, find out more about her website on the page on the website. Oh my gosh, Rhonda. Our topic today is leading without limits,
Woohoo!
fearless choices for women who dare, which I love. But let's get into, the convo we were having about women in power. I am in alignment agreement, which is why I called my summit last year what it was. But I actually think, Rhonda, and tell me if you agree with this, that many women subconsciously or consciously are actually scared of that word and
Of
what it
course. Yes.
means.
Yes, because it feels like they have to defy. They feel like they have to defy. They feel like they have to hurt people. They feel like they have to break down. They feel like they have to say no. They feel like they have to become selfish. They feel like they have to, A, B, or C, right? So power is just an energetic alignment with your true calling. And then when you have that energetic alignment with your true calling, you then have, i.e., the power to create it, to make it fruition. So that is the power within us. It's not power over, it's
Right.
not power, right? It's not that power. It's not the power that we saw
Old
probably
school
growing up.
power,
Yeah, the old
yes.
school power, what we saw growing up, what we see in the world today. So many people use the power of over. But we want to actually create the power that is the fearless power, which fearless power is all about compassion, empathy, leadership, personal responsibility, honesty, right? When you are fearlessly powerful, what you are fearlessly powerful to is a commitment and a dedication to your authentic self and to that mission that is calling you. So when you are powerful, you are saying, I matter. My authenticity is what's at stake here. And I am choosing to not live over somebody or live instead of somebody or live against somebody. You know, when women are contemplating getting divorced, or they're talking to me getting divorced or leaving something or leaving a job or starting their own business, right? And they're leaving their job. They usually come to me and they talk bad about their last job, or they talk bad about their husband, their partner, their spouse, right? And I say, you don't have to make the job or the spouse bad to want to leave it. You
Yeah.
don't have to make them bad to justify your choice, to justify that you are ready to step out in a different way. So, but that's what we do. We think, oh, well, I don't have a right to want it just because I want it, right? I don't have a right to want it. I have to make something bad or wrong in order to give me permission to want it. But I'm
Okay,
saying right here, yeah, you have permission. I'm giving it to you. Boom, permission.
well, I think that point is so golden. That idea that we don't even know how to claim what's already ours because we feel it's too much or we're too much and we don't want to. It's like this whole,
Or we're too little.
oh, we're too little. Women especially have been conditioned with so much, and so much that we actually aren't aware of unless we do a lot of inner work that, like I have, that's why even I'm aware of so many things that I wouldn't have known about my upbringing, my culture, my conditioning, my traumas, all the
Yes.
things that,
Yes.
and so it's so funny, Rhonda, because I don't know why God made me so passionate about woman, shine your light. Like my second book is called It's Your Time to Shine. Girl, it's such a corny,
Yes.
tacky little title, but I couldn't help but call it that because I'm like,
Yes.
shine. Like the knowing that
Yes.
we each have a unique brilliance.
That's right.
Rhonda, to talk about, I don't, this is not even what the question she was asking me to talk to her today about, but I want us to go in this flow of, woman, back to this theme of limitless. Let's go into limitlessness and breaking
Yes.
limits. So why do we limit ourselves so much, and how can we break free from the limits we set in our own minds?
Yes, well, that is a great, great question. So one of the things that stops us, the thing that stops us is fear, period, end of story, right? And whatever we've made up about that situation, whatever fear that is, right? So we all have what I call, excuse me, I'm going to take a little drink here because I am passionate and I want to be prepared and ready. Just a minute. All right. Ooh, all right. In order to truly be limitless, I'm going to step back a minute. When people think of the word limitless, one hand is exciting, right? It's like, yes, right? But on the other hand, it feels like a big responsibility, right? And it also feels like, do I have it to do that? And what will I have to leave behind? And do I have to hurt somebody? Will I break somebody's heart? Will I be there for my children? Will I be there for my family? Right? We are big hearted women. Women that want to shine their light, that are shining their light, are big hearted women. And
Amen.
lovely ladies out there, we do not have to leave our heart behind. In fact, our heart is our greatest asset in our ability and our willingness to be limitless. So the thing is that we have to shift our mindset and build a relationship with fear so we see it for what it is rather than letting it be the bully to stop us. So the wheel of fear, we each have one. We each have an individualized wheel of fear. And that wheel of fear, we all have one. I just want you to hear that again. Everybody has one. It's part of our neurobiology. There's no getting rid of it. We were born with it. It's how we operate. And yet we have the ability to transcend it. We have the ability to call it out for what it is. We have an ability to call it out. So, but what if we don't see it, we can't
Yeah,
call it out.
right.
So one of the things that I invite everybody when they're thinking about that nudge, that goal, that dream that they have, or maybe they don't have one yet, but they know there's something, right? It's stirring, right? It's
They're here
stirring,
for
right?
more.
They're wanting more. It's stirring up. So the first thing that I invite everyone to do is start owning what I call fear responses. Now, what are fear responses? Okay, so I've got a lovely book here called Fearless Living, and I'm going to just quickly give everyone a quick little quiz so everybody can identify their fear responses. Because once you identify your fear responses, you are going to see fear for what it is. So if you're able, shut your eyes. If you're driving, don't do that. And then nod your head if these are true for you. So nod your head if these are true for you ever. Do you ever deny yourself? Do you ever isolate? Do you ever pretend? Do you ever hide out? Do you ever whine? Do you ever compare? Do you ever manipulate? Do you ever complain? Do you ever get defensive? What about judging? Do you call it, do you wait and call it patience? Do you procrastinate? Do you worry? Do you struggle? Do you blame? Do you deflect? Do you control? Do you get bitter? How about powerless? What about dissatisfied, resentful, entitled, guilty? Do you ever become a perfectionist? Do you ever feel irresponsible? Do you ever be indifferent? Do you get irritated like you might now with all these words, right? And do you ever feel ignored, overwhelmed, annoyed? Do you ever get caught in self-pity? Do you ever feel victimized? So these are the words
A
of
lot.
fear. Those are the words of fear. So everybody go ahead and open your eyes. And I would dare say, when I speak, Natalie, I don't care if I'm speaking to 100 people or 1,000 people. I will say, how many people have over 50% of those words? Well, everybody raises their hand, right? Everybody, I say over 80%, everybody raises their hand. And then when we get up to 90, 95, maybe a few drop, maybe. But most people have 95 to 100% nods on those words. Now, this is the key, Natalie. People think those words are bad.
Bad.
And they judge themselves and they think they're character flaws. Oh God, I wish I wasn't a people pleaser. Oh God, I wish I didn't procrastinate. God, I wish I wasn't a perfectionist. Oh God, they consider it a character flaw. They consider it a character trait. They consider it part of who they are. No, my friends, those are all language of fear. When you are people pleasing, there's a fear that's activating that people pleasing quality. When you are procrastinating, there's a fear that's activating that procrastination. When you are overwhelmed, you have a fear that's activating that feeling of overwhelm. When you judge, compare, compete, all of those things are activated by what I call the wheel of fear, because each of us has a core fear that drives us when we are unconscious, when we are not awake, when we can't see it, it will run our lives. So when you can see it, you can change it. So the first thing to do is just start taking responsibility for those fear responses and quit saying, oh God, I gotta quit people pleasing. Oh, I gotta quit judging. Okay, sure,
Rhonda,
sure.
hold on a second, because I understand what you're saying, but let's break it down a little bit. So let's use the example of a people pleaser. People pleaser.
Yep.
What can be the fear that's triggering that people pleasing behavior?
Well, everybody has a different fear. So your fear might be different than mine. So the fear might be, I'm afraid to look selfish, or the fear might be, I'm afraid to look stupid. So on the wheel of fear, there are 4 components. And one of them is your main trigger, what I call the core fear. So you are driven, Natalie. Who knows what yours is? I can
I
tell you
think
what
I know what
mine
mine is.
Okay, you think you do, but I bet you don't. But you might think it. But I'm telling you, Natalie, 99% of my students come in telling me, "Oh, I know what it is." You know what your fear response is. Most people, and you might be the exception, do not actually know their core fear. Right?
I'll put it out there. Okay, let me see if I'm
Go
right.
girl.
Okay,
I don't know
it's
yet, so I
fear of
have to give you.
rejection.
Fear of rejection is a common fear response that people want to claim as their core fear. But I will ask you just a couple questions. Do you reject yourself before anybody can reject you?
I used to do that.
You used to do that. Okay. Do you, because that's a big component of the rejection core fear,
Somebody
is
just did
that
it to me, actually. It's so funny. Somebody just did it to me, and I'm realizing, like, I could see the
the
emotional.
unfolding? Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So fear of rejection, folks, that are really their core fear. That's core fear, because most of us have a fear response called the fear of rejection. We all are afraid of rejection. It's kind of common. But people that have the real core fear of rejection really reject themselves on a regular basis. They will choose anybody but themselves, and they will sabotage themselves in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Rejection is one of the most destructive core fears, because it will not allow that light to come out. So
Right.
it might be yours, but I'll tell you mine. This is my core fear now. And by the way, most people do not see their core fear because fear is so good at hiding it. And fear does not want to be found, because if you find your core fear, then you'll see it and you'll quit being in fear. And then the wheel of fear can't keep saving you, because the wheel of fear has to keep saving you. So it can't be found. So the wheel of fear will use everything, your education, your spirituality, your knowledge, everything against you, because the wheel of fear knows everything you know. So everything you know, it knows, and it will twist it and work it against you. So I'm going to share my core fear. My thing that is underlining everything is afraid to be a loser. Now, Natalie, I was never called a loser in my entire life. I was a straight A student. I got a full ride to college. I was class president. I was never called a loser. I sang the solos in choir. Never in a million years was I ever called a loser. So as I developed this work and created the worksheets and the exercises to help uncover it, when I uncovered my wheel of fear with the help of my best friend, Marta, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Shocked. And I saw, this is what happens when people find their true core fear, is basically your kind of life, like a life review, right? It's like, oh, that's why I quit college. That's why I went to college. That's why I got married. That's why I didn't get married. That's why this happened, this happened, this happened, right? So your whole wheel of fear is to make sure that you do not show up as a loser. That my wheel of fear is all about, don't let anybody know you're a loser. They know you're a loser. You're done for. So then I do all the fear responses to prove I'm not a loser. People pleasing, give unrealistic deadlines, brag, right? Do all of these things like, look, I'm not a loser. La da 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 da. I'm not a loser. Look, right?
Yeah.
So again, I'm not consciously doing this.
Right.
It's
Subconscious.
unconscious, right? And by the way, it looks good. So a lot of people with the rejection trigger are definitely afraid of looking selfish. So they can be people pleasers. They can be the ultimate team players.
I would
Yeah,
say
go ahead.
I lean more towards I don't want to look like an egotistical, selfish, narcissistic person. So like that use me so much. So I agree
Okay.
with you. I'm not somebody who rejects myself. I think in the past
That's
I
right.
would have. Not
Yes.
what I would say I do at all now, but I think it's that fear of being seen the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, you could have the fear of being selfish. So fear of selfish is huge, right? Because then how can you show up? How can you be a bright light? How can you be that bright light, right? Because how can you be a bright light? Because then you're going to take that light away from somebody else, right? Now, again, this is all unconscious. It happens so quick, you don't even know it, right?
Yeah.
Because again, if you would have said to yourself, you're afraid to be selfish, you would have been like, well, look at me, I'm doing limitless work. I'm doing amazing, right? And me with loser, how could I be a loser? I'm an Emmy Award winner, right? But every time we're about to take a risk, because that's how fear works. Fear doesn't care if you're sitting on the couch eating Doritos, right? It doesn't care about that. Fear only goes into action when you're about to go in the unknown, when you're about to take what I call a stretch, risk, or die. So when you are like watching us right now and you're thinking, I'm going to go fulfill my dream, fear is going to be like, well, wait a little bit, little lady, because you might get hurt. Like you might get rejection. Something bad might happen. And
You might fail.
You might fail, right? And you might have success. And that's even more scary for some people. So what we must do is we might go, that is not my voice speaking. That is not the voice of God. That is not the voice of spirit. That is not my unique higher self voice. That voice is fear. And what is fear doing? It's wanting me to keep the same small stuck, because that's the only way fear can guarantee that you will be alive.
Safety.
Yep. It's all about safety. So we want to create safety from what I call the wheel of freedom. So again, my greatest fear, does loser come up all the time? Of course not. Loser only comes up trying to stop me when I'm about to take a risk. So again, if you're on your couch eating Doritos, the wheel of fear is not operating. You're in your comfort zone. You can just hang out there, right? You're just in your comfort zone. It's when you attempt to break out of your comfort zone, when you try to do something, even if you've done it before, but you haven't done it recently.
Yeah.
Right? That even will trigger your core fear.
I want to pause for a second. Yeah, this is all good stuff. And, back to the theme of like limitlessness and breaking barriers and manifesting our dreams and owning our power, right? All those are risk. There's risk involved.
Right.
There's effort, there's steps, there's movement, there's action involved in every one of those things.
And a new identity because people will see you differently. Right? So that's a very scary thing for many people. right? Oh my God, people are going to think I'm a ball buster. People are going to think I'm, selfish. People are going to think I'm haughty. People are going to think like I think I'm too big for my britches. People are going to think I know more than they do. People are going to think, it's like, okay, you know what? If they think those things, they're in fear. That's not truth. That's fear.
Right.
That's
That's their
their fear.
fear.
That's their fear trying to take you down, because their fear is trying to keep everybody together so that we're all like a little community of fear people, right?
Let
So
me,
that's why we have to find those people that are breaking free, find those coaches, find those guides, find
that.
those communities, right? Because you want that support to be pushed out
Yes.
and guided on how to keep yourself safe, and how, really importantly, to talk to the people who are stuck in fear. Because that's one of the things I hear over and over again with my clients and my students is, oh my God, what is my husband going to think? What is my partner going to think? What are my kids going to think? What are my best friends going to think? Oh my God, they're going to hate me. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, sweetheart, I'm going to tell you exactly how to work, how to talk about it and how to frame it, because you're going to first find out who the fear junkies are in your life and the fear busters are in your life. And you're going to learn how to communicate with them so they don't feel threatened, so they don't have to
Mm,
attack you. So there's a way to communicate your journey in a way that is freedom based, that doesn't necessarily have to activate their fear so much that they go to attack you.
interesting. That's interesting. But I will add to that, I've never heard it said that way, but I'll say that as you grow and evolve and become more of that version of yourself, there will be people
Yes.
you have to let go because they're in their fear-based comfort zone, whatever, and they
Yes.
can, no matter how you frame it, and maybe it's like it's so like antithesis of who they are, like you all are not on the same plane anymore.
Well, I'll tell you this: when I was growing, when I was moving, becoming more aware, et cetera, I was deathly afraid to leave the people that were my friends. I was deathly afraid, because these are my people, right? So I spent years, and I mean 7 years of my life, trying to get the people that I loved to get what I was getting to go along with me,
Mm,
right? Because I was definitely afraid to step out on my own, feeling like I was leaving them behind. And I have a loyalty thing. So it's like I was disloyal if I was going to leave them behind. And I'm telling you, 7 years, 7 years of
what
trying.
made you do some after the 7 year? What changed in you?
I'll tell you what changed. A couple things changed. One is one of my friends who I was basically back in the day, without knowing it, I was coaching her, and I was trying to educate her and coach her on all the things that I learned. And she wasn't getting it, right? I spent 7 years. I would like dance with spoons and forks at the restaurant. I would like try to say it millions of different ways. And I think back on it now, she probably is one of the reasons I'm such a good coach, is because I had to learn to coach her. And it was not easy. It was not easy to
Yeah.
coach her. She wasn't getting it, right?
Mm.
And then we go to our coffee shop one day, and she announces out of the blue, I'm going to teach a workshop next month. And I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, I'm going to teach blah, blah, blah. Um, I go, I taught you all that. And she goes, you have nothing to do with this. I'm going to go teach it. And you didn't help me at all, like literally. And I was like this, what? And what I realized in that moment is she was being a model for me of being willing to to be led where you're led. And I realized I was the one waiting and waiting and waiting, and she wasn't waiting at all. And I also realized I was so upset and so, how dare you? I was jealous.
Mm.
And what we're jealous of, spark within us that wants that. So we don't get jealous about just anything. We only get jealous that we know it's a truth for us, that we
Mm.
are meant to live part of that life. And
Mm.
so I had to come clean with, I do want to teach a workshop one day, and I do want to do that. And so that was the beginning. And then the only other thing I want to say about this is, what I didn't know is I didn't believe there were healthy people out there, and I didn't believe there would be people waiting for me to greet me. What I now know is that there are so many damn healthy people out there that we are not even aware of. And
Yes.
the more successful people come, the more generous they are, for the most part, not everyone, of course, but more generous and more willing they are to step in and support you.
Mm.
So I'm just saying that we are so afraid to leave this comfortable group of 3 to 5 friends over here, when I'm telling you right now, there's 100 people cheering you on right now and waiting for you to welcome you into their
And a
community.
whole different experience where they see you and they love what the shine, they love the brilliance you bring.
They're not threatened by your brilliance. They're like, bring it, girl, bring it, bring it, bring it.
Yes, Rhonda, that is so true, so true. But it takes us so long to even know that is possible and it exists, and that we are worthy of that, and we deserve that. I want to ask you a crazy question because I'm just curious about it. So you've been on Oprah. That first time you had to be on Oprah, what came up for you?
God, what came up for me? Well, I was Oprah and Marianne Williamson, the Return to Love author of Return to Love, etc., and now presidential candidate, etc.,
Yes,
etc.
yes.
But Marianne Williamson, Oprah loves Marianne Williamson, and I had just seen Marianne Williamson, and I got her a couple of Marianne Williamson lectures, and I brought them to her. And so on the first break, I said, "Oh, I have a gift for Oprah," and Oprah actually came over to me, and I gave them to her, and she goes, "Oh," she looked at me, she goes, "You get it, you get it," and we literally sat during 2 breaks talking. So it was, we had a commonality that the difference between she and I dissolved. Now, the second time I went on, I had an intention, and my intention was, I'm equal to Oprah. Oprah isn't better than me or different than me. She's equal to me. So the whole time before I went on, and the whole time I was on, and the whole time afterwards, I just really kept my intention. Like, I am equal to Oprah. Like, I don't have to like
Bow down to
placate her.
Oprah.
I don't have to bow down. I don't have to like be a perfect guest, and do what I think she needs. I just have to be true to me. So that is what I did on my second time. So and then I've gone to OWN many times to pitch television shows, and they actually bought one show of mine at one time. So it's yeah, we have a relationship, a long-term relationship that we go in and out of each other's lives.
But I asked it because I was thinking, like, that's like, I think anybody listening would be like, oh my God, to be on Oprah, to be next to Oprah is like a huge, Oprah comes up a lot as a guru of a model for leadership, a model of so many things, right? So I thought that it might have been a chance for you to be like, I'm out of my comfort zone and the fears
Oh,
coming
for
up.
sure. For sure, I'm out of my comfort zone. It was scary to bejeebers, right? But like, so the second time, just because I had that intention didn't mean that my wheel of fear wasn't activated. But I kept my so on the wheel of fear, there's 4 components. On the wheel of freedom, there's 4 components. And just like we have a core fear, and mine is loser, we also have something called the essential nature on the wheel of freedom. And my essential nature, the thing that when I am afraid goes out the window, when I'm going to be the good girl, I lose my authenticity. I become a chameleon. Okay.
Wait. So on your wheel of freedom, your core.
My essential nature, the thing that I must anchor when I'm afraid is authenticity. Because when I am on my wheel of fear, so think about this. If my essential nature, the thing that I'm meant to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is authentic, but my deepest fear is that I'm a loser. Do you think I'm really going to be authentic? No, because I'm afraid if I am, I'll be seen as a loser. So me being authentic, for me, Rhonda Britten, is one of the most courageous acts.
Wow.
Because it flies in the face of my wheel of fear.
Gotcha.
Right? So when I was on Oprah, I'll speak of the second time, when I was keeping that intention of I'm equal to Oprah, I just kept the mantra going of be your authentic self, be your authentic self. Because trust me, the wheel of fear wanted me to be like, hi, Oprah.
Yeah.
How are you? How are you doing? Right? Like, I wanted to please her. And it's like, no, back away. That's your wheel of fear. And when you operate out of your wheel of fear, the energy is different. The connections are different. Your vibration is different. You're coming from neediness. You're coming from less than. You're coming from lack, right? You're coming from all these places. And we want to come from abundance, more than enough, a high vibration, etc. So that is on the wheel of freedom. So I practice being authentic.
Yeah.
I practice being authentic.
It's so interesting you mentioned that word, and I'm trying to, as you speak, my brain's trying to make sense of it all, because my number one value is authenticity. But I will say that when I'm most scared, that's the thing that is challenged for sure. Like, but
Yeah.
I've learned maybe the hard way or the long way, whatever you want to call it, that if I'm not authentic, I'm not at peace, I'm not me, I'm
Yeah.
actually like
Yeah.
disconnected from myself. And it's like, so those things
That's
are so
right.
much
That's right.
worse that
That's
I'm
right.
like, I
That's
want
right.
to just be me. And if they don't like it, I don't know what to say,
That's
because
right.
yeah.
That's right.
But yeah,
That's
like
right.
so y'all gotta get her book, by the way. Sorry, Rhonda, what's the name of your book again? Fearless Living?
Well, I have 4 books, but Fearless Living is the one we're talking about now. Fearless Living is all about fear. Is the one that I teach you the process of how to find your wheel of fear and how to find your wheel of freedom. And I also take you through the tools and skills that I help people embody on their wheel of freedom. So you're going to get my whole program in that book, Fearless Living. It's also a course on my website, fearlessliving.org, Fearless Living Transformation Program. And if you're a book reader, an Audible reading audio, go get it. You'll love it. And make sure you do it with a friend to help call you out with your wheel of fear and wheel of freedom. Make sure you have a notebook, because I'm a coach. I'm going to give you homework the whole time.
That's gonna be a lot of good in
That's
the work, I'm sure. So, Rhonda, what made you so in love with this fear as the fulcrum of your work?
Well, it obviously came from my trauma and my history and the worst day of my life. So, I believe that the worst days of our lives, the days that we look back on and go, oh my God, I wish that never happened, or that was horrible, or I can't believe I survived that, whatever those worst days are, I believe have the seed of our destiny in it. So when you look at your worst days,
Mhm.
I want you just to imagine that those have the seed of your destiny, because we do see it in our hindsight, don't we? 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later,
Yeah.
we go, oh my God, it was really started there. Well, the same thing happened to me. I was 14 years old, and I tell you about my worst day. I was 14 years old. I grew up in a little tiny town in Upper Michigan, 365 inches of snow a year, 2 restaurants, fancy Douglas House, Big Boy Cafe. And it was Father's Day. My parents had recently separated, and my father was coming to take us out to the fancy Sunday brunch. And I was pretty excited. So I'm in my mom's room. She's putting on her blue eyeshadow and puffing up her beehive hairdo. My 2 sisters are in our one bathroom fighting it out. My dad comes in the back door. Let's go, girls. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Because that's what dads do. Me and my mom start walking out. My sister's still stuck in the bathroom fighting it out. And as we walk out, it's starting to sprinkle. So my dad looks at us and says he's got to get his coat from the car. Now, this coat is a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat, which looks really good. If everybody remembers, if you're old enough to remember, tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat look good. So as my father opens his trunk to grab his coat, I notice out of the corner of my eye, he did not grab a coat, but he grabbed a gun. And he starts yelling at my mother, you made me do this, you made me do this. And he fires. And I start yelling, Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing, Dad? And my dad cocks the gun again, points it at me. And I believe I'm next. And he blinks, I blink, he blinks, I blink. And my mother, with her last breath, literally screams out, no, don't. My father, realizing my mother's still alive, takes that bullet intended for me and shoots my mother a second time. That second bullet goes in her abdomen, out her back, lands in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all I hear is, eh. And then my father cocks the gun a third time, points the gun to his head, and fires. And in a matter of 2 minutes, I was the sole witness of watching my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me. So I don't know how you would respond, but this is how I responded. I blame myself. I
Yeah,
didn't do anything
absolutely.
heroic, right? Right? I didn't kick my father's shins. I didn't grab the gun. I didn't jump in front of my mother. And now they're dead. And when you watch your mother die, happiness is off the table for the rest of your life. You don't
Sure.
get to be happy, right?
Mhm.
So for the next 20 years, I found alcohol, became an alcoholic, got 3 DUIs, 3 suicide attempts. And it was that third suicide
Mhm.
attempt that made me realize I'm not very good at killing myself. And if I'm not dying, there has to be a
Your
reason why
reason.
I must live, right? And mind you, I want to say during those years that I was drinking and doing suicide attempts and DUIs, I was also going to therapy, doing workshops, reading books. I mean, I read my first self-help book when I was 12. I was going to be a minister when I was 13, right? So I was a self-help junkie. And so
Mm.
I got a lot of knowledge, right? I got a lot of tools, but it never took away the feeling that there's something wrong with me. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with me. And so that third suicide attempt, by the way, they put you in a psychiatric ward to evaluate you when you try to kill yourself 3 times. They deemed me not crazy, let me go. I'm in my little studio apartment. And I say to myself, I have to start over. Uh, Everything I've done hasn't taken away this feeling. Yeah, again, I have a lot of knowledge, but it's not helping me change my life.
Right.
And so I said, I have to start over. What do kindergartners do? And oh, well, they get gold stars and a calendar. So I went to the store, got gold stars and a calendar. And for the next 30 days, I gave myself a gold star for any time I did anything good, anything positive. And I'm talking about getting mad and not breaking anything. And I was like, look at me, not breaking anything. I'm amazing, right? Like, this is the level I was at, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of 30 days, I was filled with gold stars.
Hmm.
And I had hope. And that was the beginning of me really recognizing. It took a few more years for me to understand how much fear ran my life, because I grew up in Upper Michigan. Like I said, I'm 100% Finnish. We don't have feelings, and we definitely don't feel fear.
Mm.
During those years, even at the hospital, the psychiatric ward, if you would have asked me if I was afraid, I would have been no. I didn't have any, no, I had no connection to fear. I would
Yeah.
have never said I'm afraid. I would have never said I'm scared. I never used those words before. I don't think
Wow.
I've ever said, I don't think, before I became who I am today, that I ever said I'm scared. So
Wow.
that's the irony, right? That's the funny joke. It's like,
Yeah.
somebody who has no relation to fear is now the fear expert,
Yes.
right? But that's the thing. When I started understanding that it was fear, it fell into place. And then, of course, the model came to me, divinely downloaded. Started understanding the model, started to understand how it works, saw it in myself. Then I started having, slowly and surely had clients. Then I started teaching classes, et cetera, et cetera. And I see it over and over again. People think it's them. They're the ones that are flawed. There's something wrong with them. But when you start understanding how fear operates, you all of a sudden realize it has nothing to do with you. There is nothing wrong with you. It is just fear.
So what I want to make all good stuff, and thank you for sharing that story. It's so wow, like wow, blows my mind story. But it's back to what we were saying about your worst days. The seeds of your destiny are planted in your worst days. So that was your worst day, and
Yeah.
you say, because I'm gonna try to interpret it, but you better do it, better doing it. How did that become the seeds of your destiny, Rhonda?
Because my father killed my mother. If you really strip away all the explanations and all the judgments, if you really strip it away, my father killed my mother because he was afraid. He was afraid of feeling alone. He was afraid of judgment. He was afraid of being humiliated. He was afraid my mother loved somebody, was going to love somebody else. He was right. He killed her because he had no other skills on how to handle his emotional life. He had no skills to handle the fear that was driven through him. My mother stayed for years. She should have left years ago. She stayed because she was afraid. Well, how am I going to care for my children? What's he going to do? How am I going to ABC? What are people going to think of me? Right? They're going to judge me. Right? So fear kept my mother in a horrible situation. My father killed because he was afraid, didn't know any other way to handle his emotional life. He had no skill sets, no understanding of how to deal with his emotions. So the only option he had was to take a gun and get rid of the thing that was causing him this pain. Right? And so when I started really realizing, oh God, this is, well, okay, wait a minute. Because fear is what causes all, like, so much of the pain that we experience is
Dysfunction
our
and
is our perception through the lens of fear.
mhm.
And neuroscience tells us over and over again that changing your perception is the only way to change your life. Period. End of story. So you can do all the tools you want, you can do all the skills you want, you can do everything you want, but unless you change your perception of the world, good luck. And this is what the Wheel of Fear and the Wheel of Freedom does. Now you can clearly see when you're in fear. There's no confusion. There's no like, am I not? No, you are clear. And you're also clear when you're in freedom. So then
Yeah.
you can make better decisions, better
Yeah.
choices. You feel
Yeah.
more empowered. You feel more powerful. And you're no longer getting enmeshed with other people's opinions or judgments or decisions, because you actually have a model to use to see the world that supports you in being your true self.
I'm curious. So when you were talking about the Wheel of Fear, you had all those words. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
words for the Wheel of Freedom?
I do.
Can you
I
read those
do.
few of those? Because I just feel like because we read all those fear words, I want to hear some freedom words, some
Okay.
limitless
Well,
words.
yeah. So on the Wheel of Fear are the languages of fear. Hold a second. I'm just trying to see my book
Hmm.
here. So when you're in freedom, I'm just going to say to you for a minute, when you're in freedom, you have empathy, you have compassion, you're not threatened, right? You feel centered, you feel grounded, you feel at peace. And the Wheel of Freedom words, just a minute, I'm just going to give you some. Your ability to be authentic, creative, compassionate. You can be accountable to yourself. A lot of people have a difficult time being accountable to themselves. You can be loving. You can feel that graceful beauty. You can be courageous. You can be focused. You can be generous. You can be trusting, right? So most of us, myself included, when I'm on my wheel of fear, I do not trust myself. I do not trust myself. You know how many times I've given my power away to somebody else thinking they know more than me?
That
Hello.
that
Hello.
a lot of women do that though, until we come to know that, wait, we are the brilliance we are seeking. We already have what we need. Like, girl, oh my gosh. So I love your concept, Wheel of Fear, Wheel of Freedom, and the way it reframes the way we see our life, and a whole new filter with which to view our experiences, our events, other people, what we want. Like, I mean, that, like you said, it's game changing. If we're still, Einstein said that famous quote, you can't solve a problem with the same mindset. So it's like, when our mindset, our neural pathways, those, if we're still in the same model or
That's right.
framework,
That's right.
limited framework, we can't, even though we know we can't change until we that model,
Right.
that frame is different. That's
Yes. And it's hard to do that without pride because it feels too phonetic. We go to spirituality and we try to use that model, or we go to personal development, we try to find that model, or we go to leadership and business and we try to use that model, right? So we listen to all these people. You know how many people I've hired in my business in the beginning thinking they knew more than me? I can't tell you how many people, right? Because again, I gave my power to them. I wanted to trust them. They might, oh, I'm not a very good businesswoman. You know more about business than me. No, no, no. Every time I was like, no, that's not it. No.
yeah,
And my business only started to catapult was when I trusted myself and did what I was called to do. Right. And again, doesn't mean you can't get guidance, and doesn't mean you're not going to take a meeting every now and then, or maybe somebody has a tool that you want to learn or a skill you want to learn. That's different. But giving your power away and believing that somebody else is your savior is
yeah,
based on your wheel of fear.
yeah,
And I did that for most of my life, hoping somebody was going to save me, right? And you know what? Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. It's going to be us. It's going to be
we
us
are our
winning. It's
own
going to be it, right?
saviors.
And we are going to do it to ourselves and for each other, right?
Right.
Because once one of us is free, then I'm very comfortable with other free women, right? Let's get together and join, and like we're not competing. It's like, come on, girl, let's do this.
Right. It's like it becomes like the power with, let's all be like, girl, I understand exactly what you're saying. And that's like my ideal fairy tale vision of women just all shining like stars with our unique brilliance, no competing, just all shining as brightly as ever. And like just, yeah, corny as hell, but that's my little girl
Yeah,
vision.
well, but it's true. It's true. Our number one human need is connection and belonging. And that's why it's so hard for so many people to shift their perception, because they're afraid of losing that connection. Because connection, like I said, is the number one human need. But
Yeah.
more importantly is, are you connected to yourself? So unless you're connected to yourself, you may not have the best perception of who to connect to and with.
Yes.
So we want to connect to ourselves. We want to know ourselves. We want to understand how we operate in fear. And so everybody has a wheel of fear and everybody has a wheel of freedom. And the great news is, once you understand yours, what's really cool is you see it in everybody else. You
Mm.
start seeing it in your family, your friends, your children, your lover, right? You start seeing business, you start seeing it everywhere. And you know what happens? You're not threatened by them anymore, because you
Yeah.
know it's fear. You're not sitting there going, oh my God, they're so powerful. No, you don't, shaking your boots. You're going, oh, okay, I see that. They're operating in fear. Oh, they're operating in freedom. Okay, got it. So then you can, because I have women come to me all the time. Oh, how can I make sure my children don't have a wheel of fear? Honey, they have it. It's part of our neurobiology. They're not going to get rid of it, but you can show them how to use it and train them on it, so that you can be a model for how to be when fear pops up, and when freedom, how freedom feels. So
Yeah.
that's our goal, is like, let's be models for each other. Let's live in a fearless
Yes.
world. Let's each individually take responsibility for how we behave, how we think, how we see the world when we are literally filtering it through fear. And it becomes a smaller, more unfriendly, more scary, more hurtful, more, powerless, more hopeless world.
Yeah.
But when we are in power, there is that ray of sunshine, and just keep aiming for that, because there is hope, there is accountability, there is responsibility,
Yeah.
there is light, there is love, even in the worst of circumstances.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm looking at our time. I know you have to, and I want to make sure I didn't tell you about this. We have a Limitless Leader Fire Round before you get to your free gift. So let's go quickly. Limitless Leader Fire Round. First question.
Okay.
Do you have a word theme of the year? And if so, what is it, Rhonda?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I can't hear you.
My theme is yes, saying the
Oh,
word yes.
or saying the word yes. What's one, you kind of said this right. What's one limit you once believed in that you've completely shattered now?
Oh God. Competing and comparing with others.
In 1 to 3 words, how would you describe your leadership presence?
Authentic,
Mm,
compassionate, powerful.
love it. What's a favorite quote or song title you'd like to share that has been instrumental in your life?
I loved this quote when I was 12 years old. I wrote it all the time, and I'm going to butcher it because I don't have it memorized, but it's E. E. Cummings' quote about how to be yourself. To be yourself is the greatest journey of our lifetime, right? It's the hardest thing and the greatest thing. So if people look up E. E. Cummings with the word "be your authentic self," you'll find it. But that quote I wrote over and over again, starting like when I was 12 years old.
Wow. Yeah. Who do you see as a limitless leader in the public eye, past or present?
Oh boy, Jesus.
Somebody else said that. Yes, I love it. If you could gift every woman one belief about herself, what would it be?
You are enough exactly as you are. There's nothing you need to add, nothing you need to take away. You are the sum total of God's incarnation as you, and you were gifted exactly as you to do your bidding, to do your purpose here on earth.
Last question. What is one practice you do regularly that helps you embody your limitless nature?
I look in the mirror every single day and tell myself how much I love myself.
I love that. That's back to loving yourself. Okay. Tell us about your free gift, Rhonda.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. So I have a course called Stretch, Risk, or Die. And it helps cure procrastination. It helps you move forward in your dream, because here we are about limitlessness. We want to take action. So this tool, first of all, it's one of my clients' favorite tools, Stretch, Risk, or Die. And when you're in the world of fearless living, you're going to hear Stretch, Risk, and Die a lot. Well, is that a stretch, risk, or die, right? So it is going to help you understand what has been stopping you from moving forward. But more importantly, it's going to show you how to start taking action towards that thing that you want. So it is at fearlessliving.org/risk, R-I-S-K, fearlessliving/risk,
It
R-S-K.
would be on the website. Yeah.
Okay, great. So go in, and it has 3 videos. It's 15-minute videos, really easy. Do it in the next 24 hours. It has a workbook. It has examples. So regardless, your goal is business, career, whether it's love, whether it's health, whether it's money, there are examples there to show you different ways to do the exercise so you can get support and start doing it right away. Now, on the 3rd video, extra bonus, is I explain the wheel of fear. So you actually get to see the wheel of fear in motion.
Very cool. Rhonda, you were amazing. And I just had such fun with this interview, like so many gems. What a pleasure having you on Limitless Leaders Summit.
Thank you. Well, there's nothing wrong with you, gang. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear.
Yes, keep on hearing that in your head and learn how to love yourself every day from what Rhonda said that she does. And I've been doing that in different ways, but yeah, everything. It's everything.
Every day, every day, every day. I love you.
Thank you. love
Be
you.
fearless.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.